Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Whenever a CA finalist or a CA fresher comes across niche fields like valuation, mergers and acquisition, due diligence, etc., a common doubt that he or she has is whether that particular field is suitable for them. To help such candidates out, I have decided to make a series where I would be inviting experienced people to share their insights. The field that we have chosen for today is mergers and acquisitions, and I would like to invite CA Isha Shinde to HJ Invests. She has 3+ years of experience in M&A. She did her articleship at BDO and she is currently working as a consultant in EY in the M&A tax department. First and foremost, how did your life change after qualifying as a chartered accountant?
It's been really great actually. Been feeling a lot lighter if you don't consider the work life. And I'm sure you can relate with this as well.
So I'll get straight to the topic of this interview. So 3 years back, when you were looking for firms to join, what were your expectations and what made you choose mergers and acquisitions?
So back when I was studying for Inter CA, my dad used to always throw these fancy terms at me, like you should try to get into M&A or private equity or investment banking. But I didn't pay much attention to it back then because when in our time it was like unheard of for an article to get to do to get an experience in such fields. But when I cleared Inter CA and I went to see my professor, he was the one who suggested that I could get into M&A as he had a student previously who was currently working in BDO at that time. So he was the one who connected me with her, and she did give me a background on what all they did in M&A tax, and that's what made me interested in the field, and I decided to join it.
So, like, are recommendations necessary to get into this field, or is it open to everyone these days?
So these days, yeah, definitely. So when we were finding firms to do articleship in to get into M&A or private equity or anything as such, all these niche fields needed recommendation, at least like director or partner level. But these days, I think due to the considering the work pressure, they are hiring based on interviews also.
Okay, all right. So that's a good thing for the candidates who want to join
Definitely.
this field. So, can you share with us what kind of work assignments did you handle, and can you guide us what exactly can an article learn by joining this field?
Sure. Like for one thing is for certain in M&A is that every assignment there's a different issue. There's something you new to learn every time. Like even if a company, even if something as simple as a due diligence, a tax due diligence, there is a different issue every time. Or you notice something which makes you do the research again, and you have to report it to the client. So one thing is for certain that you don't get repetitive assignments here. So now that we are on the topic of due diligences, basically let me just give a brief of what it's about. So it's like we give a buyer wants to buy a business. For example, in case of buy side due diligence, buyer wants to buy the business, so he would approach us to conduct a our team will be doing the tax due diligence. So we would do a tax due diligence on whether the target has been compliant in the tax filings, for example, income tax returns, payment of all the taxes and all such things. And other than that, other than the compliance part, we also report on any significant issues we find during the review. For example, we review the financial statements first and foremost to see if any potential tax implications could arise due to anything reported there, such as the contingent liabilities or any provision for taxes and all such, whether everything is reported correctly. So that's the second thing that we do. One more thing in due diligence is we also give representations, also take representations from the target management to our client. Like for example, if the target has any ongoing income tax proceedings, so our client wants to buy the business irrespective of that. So we would like advise to the client to take a representation from the management key if in future demand comes up, so our client won't have to pay any part in it. So up to a certain point, the target would indemnify our client. in case of that demand. So this is a little brief on due diligences. Next up, I've also
Sorry
gotten
to
chance
interrupt,
to
Isha, but
yeah.
in case you all don't know, indemnify means that the target will have to make good the losses that the new management that acquired the company had to suffer due to the tax issue. And one more thing. So, is your job restricted to reporting about the issues that are pertaining to the tax matters of the client, or do you help remediate them?
No. Our job is only to report the issues to the client, because ultimately it's their decision whether they want to buy it or not. So basically, what it helps is in negotiating the price. For example, if the target has a lot of demands and assessments going on and has not been compliant in filings and all that things, so the client can negotiate a price in their favor. So this is the main purpose.
Okay, all right. And you were saying something else. Uh, yeah.
So I was just giving an example of another assignment that I had a chance to be on. It was in a demerger of a listed government entity. Now, of course, I can't disclose the name, but to give you a brief, there they wanted to segregate the core business activity into a separate entity, or so we advised them on the various options in which it could sell its business. So it could be by a demerger, or it could be by way of a slump sale or a slump exchange. So ultimately, the company did choose demerger, but we gave them implications from a tax, regulatory, accounting, and stamp duty perspective. So that made them decide that they wanted to choose demerger, since there are a lot of exemptions in the tax law on a demerger. So one more assignment that I was involved in was to give a foreign company repatriation options. For example, a company has invested in an Indian company, and now they want their money back, like some returns. So it could be in form of dividend, it could be in form of buyback, capital reduction. And for this purpose, we also analyze the double taxation agreements which the governments have entered into between countries. So it helps. So basically, DTAAs are like it has specific clauses wherein, for example, if dividend, if there were previously DDT tax in India. So now it has been abolished, but basically, if you look into the DTAA, over there would be a concessional tax. So the company wouldn't have to pay the tax rate as per India, but I would have to pay tax as per the double taxation agreement. So we give repatriation options, in what way should the company pay, which is more tax efficient. Also, we do help foreign companies set up their business in India. Matlab, they want to enter India, but they are not sure in which mode should they invest. So we suggest either it's by directly purchasing an Indian entity, or suggesting a forms of entity to be set up, like could be a partnership firm, could be a company, or could be an LLP. So this is all decided basis, again, the stamp duty implications, the tax implications, accounting and regulatory stuff. And in BDO, actually, we did focus a lot on FEMA implication, the Foreign Exchange Management Act. So we did focus on that too. So I did also had a chance in making a standard operating procedure of FEMA laws, like how it is while importing and exporting stuff into and outside India. So this is a gist of the assignments I've worked on so far.
That sounds quite interesting, and thank you for the elaborate answer so that people would get a good idea about what kind of work assignments they can expect. So I'll come to the next question. How is the work pressure in this field, and how did you manage your studies with it?
So as such, though, we don't have any due dates, because we don't follow tax or audit due dates. There's nothing as such here. But if a client has a quick turnaround, that is, if he wants to sign the deal as soon as he can, so we will have to work at the extra hours. Like it all depends on client deal to deal basis. So nothing is certain as such. But in my articleship, my team was pretty flexible regarding the study hours that I chose for myself. So as the time went by in the second year, I had taken up morning as well as evening classes. So they did let me off a little early and allowed me to join a little late. So they were pretty adjusting in terms of that.
Okay, all right. So the work pressure is manageable and it
Yes,
kind of
yes.
depends on your team too. So you did your articleship in BDO, which is an upper mid-sized firm in India. So hypothetically, let's say an article is getting an opportunity to work at a big four or an upper mid-sized firm like BDO. What should he or she choose?
These days big four is definitely taking up more articles, but at our time though we could get into M&A in a big four only if we had a partner reference. But now that I am in EY, I have noticed that the articles here won't get as much exposure as I did get in BDO. So I was involved in a lot of assignments and I did get to interact with the client beyond client calls and everything. So if anyone is looking to do articleship in M&A, I would suggest to go in an upper mid-sized firm.
Isha cleared her CA exams in May 22 and post qualification she joined EY, which is a big four in the M&A tax department. So my next question is, you have been working as an employee at EY for the past few months, and I would like to know what was your experience? How has your life as an M&A consultant changed after becoming a chartered accountant?
The work life, other than the work life in EY, everything is really great. Like I have been getting a lot of interesting assignments, like more exposure than of course in BDOs since I'm qualified now. And learning new things every day, definitely every assignment is something different and some new issue pops up, so we have to research around that and all that. So definitely a better exposure. Just a downside maybe the work timings, that too on deal to deal basis, not constantly.
So tentatively, what kind of hours do you work?
So I could say 10 hours is a minimum. I know that it may sound really overwhelming, but yeah, but I feel if you're really involved in the work and you like what you do, I don't think it would be much of an issue. So my team has a policy that they don't let us work on the weekends. So we try to stretch it as much as possible during the weekdays to close off the deal, and at least on our part. So we don't, that's why it extends to such extent. But other than that, I feel EY is really giving me good exposure in M&A.
So this video would be quite useful for a lot of CA aspirants and CA freshers who are interested in this field. And I hope that a lot of people are watching it so that they can make an informed decision. So do you have any message for them?
Um, Actually, I would recommend them to take up M&A only if they love tax and want to do something other than the normal individual or corporate taxation. Because as interesting and glamorous this field sounds and all the work I have explained right now, one should take it up only if you see yourself doing it in the long run. Because at one point of time, you have to be interested in the job that you're doing to continue doing it. So that would be my advice to anyone who's looking for a job and or articleship in M&A.
Uh, Thank you, Isha. And do you have any advice for CA students just from an exam perspective?
From an exam, actually the one thing that helped me the most during my CA prep was to stay consistent. I mean, there's nothing like that. I mean, you may take up lectures, fast track or anything, but if you don't have the dedication to stay consistent throughout it all, it might become a little difficult. But that's what helped me actually to stay consistent and to focus on one thing and not let my mind wander off. Because social media, of course, people used to go out and I remember thinking, I mean, being cooped up in my room all day studying in that zone. So it did make me feel a little down at times. But I knew what the bigger goal here was, so I did stay focused at that time.
Thanks a lot, Isha. This was really interesting and it would be quite helpful to a lot of people. And if you all have any doubts, then feel free to mention them in the comment section, or you can send me a mail at the email ID mentioned in the description box. I would try to convey every query to Isha, and we'll travel her a lot to get our doubts cleared. So, yes, do not hesitate at all. And thanks a lot, Isha, for joining. This was a really insightful discussion. If you all like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to HJ Invests for more such interesting interviews. Stay tuned. Thank you.